Welcome back to The Explainer. Look, having kids is universally celebrated as this massive, absolutely beautiful emotional milestone, right? But today, we're going to break down a reality that we all face, yet very few actually plan for. As we'll see from our source material today, having children is also a major financial responsibility. So, we're going to map out the true financial architecture of parenthood, step by step. Okay, let's dive right in by picturing a scene. Imagine a young newlywed couple just relaxing in the evening, chatting about the future, and the wife casually asks a very normal question. So, when should we have kids? It's a conversation happening in millions of living rooms around the world every single day. And often the husband's response goes something like this. Well, we'll see later. We'll worry about the costs then. But that seemingly innocent, super casual response about deferring the financial talk, that is exactly where the biggest mistake begins for modern parents. Our sources really highlight that waiting for the baby to actually arrive to start thinking about money is basically setting yourself up for an incredibly stressful journey. And to understand why that stress builds up so fast, we kind of have to look at the environment modern parents are operating in right now. Which brings us to the comparison culture trap. You see, in the past generation, the mindset was entirely different. Take an uncle from our source material who wanted to study engineering. His family didn't have the cash, so what did he do? He went out, earned a self-funded scholarship, and paid for his own education. He earned his way. But today, we're just bombarded with comparison. Neighbors are doing these elaborate baby shower photo shoots, friends are booking premium luxury hospital suites for deliveries, and relatives are enrolling their toddlers in wildly expensive IB schools. The mentality has really shifted. Parents are stressing over giving their kids the absolute most expensive experiences right out of the gate, basically equating expensive with best. So let's look at the actual data and see how this plays out before a baby is even born. Let's map out those pre-birth costs. The baseline cost of medical care alone is honestly pretty shocking. This data reflects typical costs in Indian hospitals, but hey, the trend is completely global. A normal delivery sits at roughly 80,000 INR, but what if there are complications? A C-section nearly doubles that to 150,000 INR. And if a couple needs fertility assistance like IVF, that expense shoots up significantly higher. Relying on just your standard monthly income during a pregnancy is a massive risk, which is exactly why having a dedicated emergency fund is literally non-negotiable. And, the hospital bill is just one piece of the puzzle. When you start adding in specialized pregnancy diets, the endless rounds of medical checkups and scans, and those social expectations like baby showers we just talked about, you're looking at a huge first-year expense. Our source calculates this can easily hit 200,000 INR before the baby has even taken their first steps. If you're waiting until the baby is born to worry about costs, you're already 200,000 INR behind. And obviously, the spending doesn't stop once they arrive. Next up, the education cost surge. As your child grows, the costs relentlessly surge. It's just an unstoppable upward curve. In that 0 to 7 years phase, you're dealing with essential vaccines, daycare, and preschool fees. Then you hit primary school. Our source actually notes an example where a 5th grader's fee was around 1.5 lakhs. Just a few years later in 8th grade, it might fluctuate wildly, but the overall trend is always going up. Finally, you reach higher education, engineering, and medical degrees that cost massive sums in the lakhs. You simply cannot cash flow this timeline on a whim. To survive these surging costs, you absolutely need a mechanism. And that brings us to the SIP, or Systematic Investment Plan. It's a method of investing a fixed sum regularly. Using tools like SIPs isn't just a nice option for parents anymore. According to our financial sources, it's an absolute necessity. By locking in an SIP early, you let compound interest do the heavy lifting, building that massive education corpus over time so you aren't completely blindsided when that engineering college bill arrives. And this actually brings us to a major mindset shift, exploring the real, often highly emotional conflict between funding your child's education and saving for your own future. Prioritizing your retirement. Do you get a loan for retirement? No. This is such a powerful point, and it comes from a conversation between two mothers in our source material. One mother was proudly explaining how she sacrificed all her investments just so her child wouldn't have to take an education loan. But the second mother replied with this brilliant, grounding realization. You can get an education loan, you can get a home loan, but no bank is ever going to give you a loan for your retirement. And that leads directly to a harsh but really essential truth. Securing your own future is more important than sacrificing all your investments to prevent your child from taking an education loan. It sounds like tough love, right?
As parents, the instinct is to give literally everything to the child. But providing your child with a fully paid off house or a completely debt-free degree should never, ever come at the cost of your own retirement fund. Because if you run out of money in your old age, you become a financial burden on your children anyway, which is exactly what you were trying to avoid in the first place. So let's turn all of these insights and warnings into some actionable planning.
The Smart Parents Blueprint. First off, we really must avoid these common pitfalls. Number 1, waiting until the baby is born to plan. Our source shares this anecdote about a friend who said, let's wait until the boy is born to figure it out, and then quickly found out it was way too late to catch up. Number 2, skipping SIPs and missing out on that sweet compound interest. Number 3, ignoring the retirement fund to pay for the kids' expenses. And number 4, the total fallacy of believing that only the most expensive schools ensure a good career. We need to avoid these traps at all costs. Instead, we should follow these 4 structured steps. Step 1, discuss kids right after marriage. The moment you decide, yes, we want children, the financial planning has to begin. Step 2, build that emergency fund early because as we saw with the medical data, those baseline costs are high and super unpredictable. Step 3, start your SIPs immediately. Even small amounts, if started right after marriage, are going to grow into a massive stress-relieving corpus. And Step 4, secure your retirement fund first. You got to put your own oxygen mask on before assisting your child. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought. Are you giving your child the most expensive things, or are you giving them sustainable, smart planning? Because the comparison culture tells us that being a good parent means spending the most money. But the true financial architecture of parenthood shows us that giving your child the best truly means giving them the gift of a financially stable, well-planned household where their future and yours is absolutely secure. Thanks for tuning in to The Explainer today, and I highly encourage you to take a close look at your own financial